If you're so smart, then translate it. The ancient manuscript had been sitting in the university's archive for over 60 years, untouched and unexplained. When Dr. Harrison finally brought it to light, he called it the discovery of the century, a stone tablet covered in symbols no living expert had ever seen before. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? He assembled the finest minds he could find. 50 engineers, linguists, archaeologists, and cryptographers, all gathered in the grand conference hall of Westfield University. The air smelled of expensive coffee and overconfidence. For 3 days straight they argued, theorized, and scribbled on whiteboards, filling the room with noise and equations, but producing absolutely nothing useful. The tablet remained as mysterious as the day it was found. Maya had been serving coffee and sandwiches to these brilliant people since the conference began. She moved quietly between the tables, refilling cups, clearing plates, and listening, always listening. She was 26 years old, wore her dark hair pulled back neatly, and spoke only when spoken to, which wasn't often, because nobody in that room ever really looked at her. She was just the waitress. But Maya had grown up in a small mountain village, where her grandmother told stories in 3 ancient dialects. She had spent her childhood tracing symbols carved into temple walls. She had taught herself 6 languages by the time she was 18, sitting under candlelight with borrowed books. Because college had never been an option for a girl without money or connections. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, Maya paused near the tablet. Something about the symbols tugged at her memory like a forgotten song. She leaned in slightly, her eyes moving carefully across the carved lines. She recognized a pattern, not from any textbook, but from the worn wooden beams of her grandmother's home. Dr. Raymond Cole, the loudest voice in the room, noticed her staring. He was a tall man with 3 degrees framed on his office wall and a habit of making others feel small. He laughed sharply and looked around at his colleagues. "Look at this. Our waitress wants to try." The laughter spread. Someone clapped sarcastically. Another man called out, "Go on then if you're so smart. Translate it." The room expected her to blush and walk away. Maya did not walk away. She set down her tray slowly, straightened her posture, and stepped closer to the tablet. The laughter began to fade as her finger traced the first row of symbols carefully. She spoke quietly but clearly. "This top section is a regional dialect from the eastern mountain tribes. It's a form of Proto-Indic script that diverged about 2,000 years ago. It's a land record. The symbols here represent boundaries, seasonal rites, and water-sharing agreements between 3 villages." Dead silence. She continued moving across the tablet, line by line, translating with calm precision, pausing only to explain context that even the symbols couldn't carry alone. She connected the linguistic roots to oral traditions, to geographical markers, to agricultural cycles that the engineers with their software could never have known without living inside that history. 20 minutes later, she finished. Every word had been spoken without hesitation, without notes, and without a single academic credential to her name. Dr. Cole's face had gone through several colors before settling on pale. The head archaeologist, Dr. Priya Menon, who had been quietly watching since the second Maya began, started clapping. One by one, others joined. Not the sarcastic clapping from before. This was something entirely different. It was the sound of people recognizing that they had been sitting next to a library and treating it like furniture. Dr. Menon walked over and introduced herself properly, something none of them had bothered to do in 3 days. She asked Maya how she knew what she knew, and Maya told her simply, her grandmother, her village, her curiosity, and years of loving language for its own sake, not for what it could earn her. That evening, Maya was offered a research position. She didn't take it immediately. She went home, called her grandmother, and cried a little, not from sadness, but because some doors, when they finally open, carry the weight of every year you spent knocking. Brilliance had never needed a title. It had only needed a room willing to go quiet long enough to hear it. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness True Stories, where every story reminds you that greatness lives in the most unexpected people.